Hello everyone, my name is Vito Ferracci and I want to talk about some apparitions of our Blessed Mother to 4 little girls in Garabandal, Spain that started in 1961. But before I do, I want to give some background information as to why I produced this video. Let me start by saying that Mr. Joseph Lamangino was the original producer of this slide presentation. He was affectionately called Joey. He was an Italian-American who lost his sight and sense of smell due to an accident when he was 16 years old in Brooklyn, New York. About age 30, a doctor advised him to take a vacation because he was somewhat depressed. So Joey, escorted by friends, took a trip to Italy to visit his Uncle Frank. While there, Uncle Frank said to Joey, "Why don't you go visit Padre Pio? What do you got to lose?" Long story short, Padre Pio restored Joey's sense of smell, and Joey was converted. What is interesting to note is that Padre Pio did not restore Joey's sight. At that time, the Blessed Mother was appearing in Garabandal, Spain. Joey asked the Padre if it was true that the Virgin Mary was appearing there. Padre Pio said yes. That is all Joey had to hear. From that day on, Joey became an amazing Garabandal apostle. He went to Garabandal, made friends with the 4 young visionaries, and learned all that was going on there. When Joey returned to the States, he brought back with him these slides, which you are about to see. Then, at around 1965 or 1966, Joey started traveling to people's homes, giving presentations, which he called conferences. They were made up of a recitation of the Rosary and slideshows of Garabandal, Padre Pio, and Our Lady of Fatima. I attended one of Joey's conferences back in 1971. Shortly after, I had the privilege of becoming good friends with Joey. As time went on, Joey gave me a copy of all 3 slideshows and essentially said to me, "Go show them to people." So as a result, what is presented here is an almost exact copy of a Garabandal slideshow presented by Joey, which I first saw on a fateful evening in 1971. Here is an overall view of the village of Garabandal. It is a small village situated in the Cantabrian Mountains of Spain. It is located approximately 275 miles north of Madrid. As of 1961, it had approximately 80 homes and 300 people. One can see the winding road through the mountains leading into the village. The village had a mayor and until 1965 had no resident pastor. Here are the 4 girls as they appeared in 1961 from left to right. Mary Lowley, age 12, Jacinta, age 12, Mary Cruz, age 11, and Conchita, age 12. At this time, the girls were checked by doctors and theologians for normality. They were found to be completely normal and healthy. This is the apple tree where St. Michael appeared to the girls on June 18, 1961. It all began on this day when the girls heard a crash of thunder and soon found themselves kneeling before a beautiful angel. He later was to tell them he was St. Michael. He came to prepare them for the coming of Our Lady. He appeared to them almost every day until July 1st, when he told them the next day of Our Lady would come to them as Our Lady of Mount Carmel. The foreground of this slide is the Quadro, the spot where St. Michael appeared to Conchita on June 18, 1965. When Our Lady began appearing to the children, she would primarily lead them up this road to the pine trees as seen in the background. Garabandal is a very stony area, and on this road was witnessed the greatest case of levitation ever recorded. The 4 girls would walk down this road on their knees backwards, with their heads thrown back and their knees not touching the ground. This was proven when their knees and stockings were checked and found to be without a scratch. The girls in ecstasy. From left to right, Mary Cruz, Jacinta, Mary Lowly, Conchita, and Father Luis Andreu. Conchita, like Lucia Fatima, is the main seer of the apparitions. The reason Father Andreu is listening so closely is because when the girls were in ecstasy, their voices were very low. Many of their conversations have been tape recorded. In a state of ecstasy, from left to right, is Jacinta on the left, Mary Cruz in the center, and Mary Lowly on the right. When the girls were in ecstasy, they were so heavy that 3 priests could not lift one girl off the ground. Yet many times they would lift one another up to kiss Our Lady, as you will see in another slide. When they were in ecstasy, they were oblivious to everyone and everything around them except each other. If one of the girls fell out of ecstasy, the other girls would lose sight of her until she returned into ecstasy. Here is an artist's conception of Our Lady as the children saw her. The children described Our Lady as being completely surrounded in a brilliant light. She wore a white robe and a blue mantle. Her feet were not visible, and on her right wrist hung a scapular. Around her head was a crown of golden stars. Her hair was a chestnut brown, parted in the middle, and fell in cascades down to her waist. Her voice was melodious in tone. There is no other woman like her in voice, appearance, or anything else. She came many times carrying the Christ child, who was about 9 months old, wearing a sky blue tunic, and had blonde curly hair. Our Lady gave the girls a message to deliver to the world on October 18, 1961. The following slide is the first message given. Here is Our Lady's message of October 18, 1961. Sacrifice and penance simply means to do your daily duty to the best of your ability. There is enough sacrifice in your daily life to sanctify yourself. We must visit often the Blessed Sacrament. People do not truly believe that our Lord is present. Our Lady is reminding us that we should visit Him more often. But before, we must be very good. Only the good can gain grace for themselves and others. Our Lady makes this clear at Fatima when she said, "You have just seen hell, where the souls of poor sinners go, because there is no one to make reparation for them. The chalice is nearly full." This is a Marian expression, meaning that God is becoming angry. If we do not change, a big chastisement will overtake all humanity. Our Lady is warning us that if mankind continues on its present path, a great chastisement will overtake the entire world. Conchita was explicit in stating that if it comes, it will be the direct intervention of God. This is more terrible than anything man could bring upon himself. But at the same time, if God must chastise us, it will be his mercy because he loves us so much and is angry with the evil of the world. The girls in ecstasy. Left to right, Mary Lowly, Conchita in the center, Jacinta on the right. When the girls would follow Our Lady, many times their feet appeared to be moving at a normal gait, but their bodies were moving so fast that people could not keep up with them. A doctor was asked once if the children could keep their heads thrown back like this for any length of time, and he said no, because the blood would cease from going to their brains and they would pass out, and if they continued this sort of thing for any length of time, it would severely impair their health. Yet these ecstasies lasted anywhere from 1 minute to 8 hours. An ecstatic walk by Jacinta on the left and Mary Lowly on the right. The girls never watched where they were going, as can be witnessed by this slide. You see the people watching where they are going, and the girls completely absorbed in their vision. Yet the girls never tripped or stumbled or they were ever harmed. Jacinta on the left, Mary Lowly on the right, coming down the mountain at night, walking backwards. Again, this shows how the children were not watching their steps. Most of the apparitions took place at night, and when the children were questioned on this, they said they would ask Our Lady, and the answer came back. It was because that was when most of the sins of the world were being committed, and she was asking for sacrifice from them. In ecstasy, Mary Cruz on the left, Conchita on the right. The children always spoke to Our Lady as all children speak to their mother. They told her of all that they did during the day and very often laughed and smiled with her. This is to show how we should be with Our Lady as children with their mother. In August of 1961, Father Andreu was given a vision of the miracle which is yet to come. He was filled with joy. Several hours later, he died. Here is the funeral procession of Father Andreu. Here is the cross at the grave of Father Andreu. Our Lady told Conchita that at the time of the miracle, his body would be exhumed and found to be incorrupt. Ecstasy. Jacinta on the left, Conchita in the center, Mary Lowly on the right. The purpose of all these ecstasies is that we will be unable to find any natural explanation for them, and therefore will give more attention to the messages as coming from the supernatural. The children would always imitate Our Lady in all her mannerisms. Here you can see the beautiful smile on Mary Lowly. Here is Mary Lowly returning a wedding ring to one of the witnesses. Our Lady kissed many religious objects. She would many times kiss wedding rings to signify the holiness of marriage. Here is Mary Lowly holding religious objects for Our Lady to kiss. Here is a close-up of the previous slide. Conchita giving the crucifix to kiss to one of the witnesses. Mary Lowly holding up more objects for Our Lady to kiss. Here is Jacinta returning a religious object without having to look at the person. Each object was returned to its correct owner without any mistakes. Our Lady said, "Through my kiss, my son Jesus has promised to work miracles." On one of Joey's visits to Garabandal, Conchita gave him a medal kissed by Our Lady. Soon after receiving it, Joey started going around and blessing people with it. I have never personally witnessed any miracles performed with Joey's medal. However, I have heard some amazing stories from other people. Two quick stories that stick out in my mind. A nun who suffered from breast cancer told me this first story. She was recovering in a hospital from a mastectomy. She told me that she was in a great deal of pain. During her hospital stay, Joey paid her a visit. While he was blessing her with his medal, the pain immediately left her and entered Joey's body. Another quick story. A 16-year-old girl was born with an arched spine and had to live with her body in a curved position similar to a hunchback. Her mother took her to Joey, who blessed the girl with the medal, touching her back with it. The young girl said, "Oh, I feel heat." The girl then straightened up into a normal position. Conchita in ecstasy. Conchita imitating Our Lady in making the sign of the cross. Conchita is the main seer. To her only was given the date of the future miracle. Our Lady told her, like Bernadette of Lourdes, that in this life she will only know suffering. Our Lady told Conchita during her November 13, 1965 apparition that when you come before God in judgment, your hands must be full of deeds done for your brethren, and now your hands are empty. This is a message for us all. Here is Mary Lowly in what is called an ecstatic fall. When the girls were in ecstasy, their bodies became so heavy that they would fall over, but they were never harmed, nor did they ever lose their beauty or dignity. You can notice here Mary Lowly's shoulders are not touching the ground, and due to the position of her head, you can see her body is half levitated. Here is Conchita receiving invisible communion from St. Michael in the wintertime. St. Michael would bring the children communion during the week because there was no parish priest there at that time. Here is Conchita receiving invisible communion from St. Michael in the summertime. Upper right is Mary Lowly watching. The children continuously pestered Our Lady for a miracle to be worked right then and there so that those people present could believe. Here is Conchita on July 18, 1962, during the miracle of the host. The host placed on Conchita's tongue by St. Michael suddenly became visible for all to see. While in ecstasy, Mary Lowly is holding up Jacinta to kiss Our Lady. Notice that there is no apparent strain on the part of Mary Lowly. Jacinta must weigh at least 80 pounds. Yet at times, these children are so heavy that 3 priests cannot lift them off the ground. And other times, they are so light, they lift one another up to kiss Our Lady. Here is Joey Lamangino with his interpreter on the way up to Garabandal in 1963. Take note of the Garabandal taxicab with 2 engines and the driver. Here is Joey shaking hands with Conchita in 1963. While visiting Padre Pio, Joey asked the Padre if it were true that Our Lady was appearing in Garabandal. Padre Pio said yes. Then Joey asked the Padre if it should go to Spain to visit. And Padre Pio said yes, but be very prudent. While visiting Garabandal, Joey received a promise from Our Lady through Conchita that he will receive new eyes on the day of the miracle, as his eyes were atrophied. His story can be found in Father Pelletier's book, Our Lady Comes to Garabandal. Conchita with her mom. From viewing these slides, one can tell that the people of Garabandal were not so well-to-do. Our Lady is not so much concerned with the material welfare of people, but of their condition of soul. Conchita with some of the children in the village. Conchita has a deep love for children. The sweater she is wearing was given to her by Joey. It belonged to his sister, who didn't know where it went until she saw it on this slide. Here is the Church of St. Sebastian in Garabandal. You can see some women doing their wash in the ravine. The village may be very poor, but they did not have the problems like we have, such as dope addiction, riots, fear at night, and so on. The inside of the Church of St. Sebastian. This is a new altar which was donated in 1965 by someone who received a spiritual gift in Garabandal. Looking at the pine trees from the bell tower of the church. These are the only pine trees for miles around. They were planted by Conchita's grandfather in 1917. It is at this site of these pines that the great miracle will take place to prove the truth of Garabandal. A picture taken from the pines looking down to the village. The rainbow ends on the true, quote, part of God, unquote. And by a beautiful coincidence, Conchita, at this very precise time, was inside the church saying her rosary. Conchita saying her rosary inside the church when the rainbow appeared over the church. Jacinta in 1965. She is the shyest of the 4 girls. She rarely allows herself to be photographed and spends much time in prayer. Mary Lowley is the happy-go-lucky type. This is Mary Lowley in 1965. She is very friendly with all the visitors. Her father was the mayor of the village and owns a small cafe where you can get sandwiches and coffee. Here is Mary Cruz in 1965. Mary Cruz stopped seeing Our Lady in September 1962. She is by far the most generous and has a deep love and concern for the poor. She has had to suffer tremendously under the hands of her parents, who have never believed in the apparitions. Here is Conchita in 1965. Conchita is the main seer of Our Lady. She is the most mature of the girls. Her greatest suffering is that it is not our Lord's will that she become a nun. She is now a practical nurse. Here is Conchita working in the fields. She used to walk 1.5 hours to work in the morning and the same to return home at night. She says that all that we do should be done for the glory of God. The Chapel of St. Michael at Garabandal. Our Lady never requested that anything be built for herself, but she did request a chapel be built to honor St. Michael. It was dedicated in September of 1967 and erected by lay people. It says on the top, "Hail Mary, Mother of God, and our Mother." Here is a photo of a painting of Our Lady of Mount Carmel of Garabandal. In December of 1964, Our Lady appeared to Conchita and told her that she would send St. Michael on June 18, 1965, to deliver for her a final message for the world. This was important because it was a prophecy being made 6 months in advance. June 18, 1965. Crowds beginning to gather in front of Conchita's house. Everyone waiting in great anticipation to see whether this prophecy would be fulfilled or not. People came from all over and waited. Most believed, some had their doubts, others just didn't believe anything would happen. Conchita remained calm and assured that St. Michael would come because, as she said, the Virgin never lies. Conchita in ecstasy on June 18, 1965. Conchita's prophecy was fulfilled. At the appointed time, St. Michael came to her just as she had been foretold. You can see Conchita on the bottom center holding up a crucifix to touch the hem of St. Michael. Joey Lamangino can be seen in the upper left standing beneath his young brother who has his hand on his head. This ecstasy lasted almost 15 minutes. Conchita's voice is on tape, and she can be heard begging St. Michael to give her the cross. The tears rolling down her temples could easily be seen. There were about 1,700 people there on this day. Our Lady told Conchita the following November 13 that the reason she did not come herself to give the message was because she felt too sad to have to deliver it to the world. The priest that can be seen on the side with the white hair is Father Lafenor, the author of the book Star on the Mountain. Part 1 of the message of June 18, 1965. Because my message of the 18th of October 1961 has not been complied with, and little has been done to make it known to the world, I tell you that this is the last one. Before the chalice was filling, now it is overflowing. Many priests are on the road to perdition, and they take many souls with them. To the Eucharist, there is given less and less importance. We must make every effort to avoid divine wrath which is pressing on us. Part 2 of the June 18th message. If you ask him for his forgiveness with a sincere soul, he, God, will forgive you. It is I, your mother, who, through the intercession and mediation of St. Michael, want to say that you must amend. You are in the last warnings. I love you very much and do not want your condemnation. Pray to us sincerely, and we shall give it to you. You must sacrifice yourselves more. Meditate on the Passion of Jesus. Signed, Conchita Gonzalez, June 18, 1965. The pine trees at Garabandal. It is here where the great miracle will take place, and where there will be a permanent sign left by God that will be able to be seen, photographed, and televised, but will not be able to be taken to be examined, and that this sign will be a proof of the miracle that will remain here until the end of the world. This is a letter written by Conchita to Joey Lamangino with the English translation. For all the persons who listen to Joseph and who want to fulfill the message and love the Blessed Virgin more and more, you can count always on my poor prayers before our Lord and the Blessed Virgin, so that they may help you to fulfill the message given to the world. Fulfill it and make others fulfill it also. This is what the Blessed Virgin said. In union of prayer, Conchita, San Sebastian de Garabandal, March 11, 1965. Although this letter was written concerning Joey, its essence can be applied to all of us who hear these talks, for Conchita remembers all of us in her prayers. Here are some closing recommendations. Learn the amazing story of how Joey was led to Garabandal. Go on YouTube and search for Garabandal Conference with Joey Lamangino in Toronto. Also do a search for the message of Garabandal. And also, if you want to learn more about Garabandal, there are several videos on YouTube. Just do a search on Garabandal, and also do a search on Conchita Gonzalez, and you will find many videos and talks and all sorts of information on YouTube. Here is my contact information. Email any questions you may have or comments to vfaraci@math-philosophy.xyz. I'd love to hear from you.